Welcome to the Everything Yachting YouTube channel. Our goal is to help yacht buyers, yacht owners, and yacht sellers through interesting, educational, and informative discussions on topics that are anything and everything yachting related. Good morning, and welcome to the Everything Yachting podcast. Today with Captain EricGervais and Captain Tad. One of the things that we learned from our rendezvous, hopefully you were there, but if you weren't there, was the value of knowledge and knowledge being power. And we had somebody that was so pleased with the 1 hour of navigational training that they received from Captain Tad that we thought we would do a special podcast today talking about all of the favorite places. Captain Tad's brought different boats over his, how many years?
27,
nearly 30 years experience running boats. So here we are today. Some of this video will be zoomed in on a iPad so that you can see what we're doing. Some of this video will be, like today, so you're looking at us. So let's just start with a conversation about all of the options that you might have before we dive into Tad's current favorites and all the places that he likes. So, Becca, you've been running boats for nearly 30 years. I've been in it for about 20. I've seen, a handful of different navigation screens from Garmin to Raymarine, Fruto, Simrad, whatever, right? Some people that use a black box like a computer and then a repeater like a TV as a way to do it with a computer-based software as well. A lot of different ways to skin the cat. If you're out there looking for a used Marlowe or planning on building a new one, I'll put the line in the sand right now. Used, it's going to be whatever's on the boat, right? Maybe somebody had Garmin originally and then replaced it to Fruno or Raymarine, or if it's new, you get to decide. We do not push electronics product on you. You get to tell us, just like you tell us what hull you want, what engines you want, you get to tell us what electronics you want. So during that build time, we have a lot of time to figure out exactly what's best for you because I don't need those decisions on day one, all right? Let's fast forward. It's a used boat, and it has a Garmin. It's like the one we're sitting on today. We're actually on a 58 that is going to be listed here shortly, and this boat has Garmin. So what would you use to pair if you just jumped on this boat and you were going to cruise it to wherever up north?
right?
What would you use supplemental? How would you use, what are some software programs that these people might want to look up and see if they like that interface or, just share some experience?
Sure. Typically, I would use the Garmin Active Captain app.
Okay.
So that Garmin Active Captain app uses the Active Captain community, which is basically a crowdsourcing software that is representative of what we used to carry around, which was waterway guides.
Okay.
So you'd flip through the book and you'd see listings of marinas and anchorages and notes on passes and inlets and outlets and shallow places to be careful of. Active Captain community is something that I use on every single trip. Matters not what is on the boat.
Okay.
So I'm using that, and I could use that out of Navionics, out of Garmin Active Captain, out of Aquamax. There's a plethora of navigation tools that you can use that with. Typically, I'm using it out of the Garmin Active Captain app just because so many vessels use Active Captain, and I've used it for so long on the Garmin app that most of my routes and waypoints and stuff are stored there. You can also export those to, say I get a phone call in the middle of the night. Hey, we're on our way up the coast and, the weather's looking bad. What inlet can I go in? Go in this inlet because that's a all-weather inlet. That's a safe place to go. Do you have service? Do you have Starlink? Do you have email service? Can you have that at this moment? I'm going to send you a waypoint. I'm going to email that waypoint to you, and then it's going to populate and it's going to show up on your chart. So, those kind of things, if they tell me where they are, I can try to look where they are and go, okay, turn out of the Gulf Stream here and head into this inlet because no matter what the weather's doing when you get there, you'll be able to get it.
All right, cool. So let's pause right now. We're going to change the camera angle so you can see the screen. And what we'll do is we'll try to show you as much as possible on the actual screen so you can kind of see how it interfaces. And we'll be talking and asking some questions. So I hope to learn some stuff today, and I hope you do too. Thanks for joining us. Here we go.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're zoomed in on Tad's iPad. Is this a special iPad, Tad?
Nope.
Okay.
Just right out of the box iPad. The only thing I would say is that it is, I have the cell side of this iPad active,
Okay.
but if you buy an iPad, don't buy the one that does not have a cell card.
Okay.
You don't have to activate the cell card, but the cell card provides GPS accuracy because GPS is located in the cell card. You don't have to activate it, but if you don't have the GPS cell card, you must have internet then to have position, GPS position.
Okay. So for everybody watching, just so you know how I do it personally, I do this on my cell phone because my cell phone's always in my pocket.
Yep.
I use Navionics, and that's about as far as I personally go. I'm no longer a full-time, captain where I'm running. I'm just moving boats mostly from point A to point B or doing orientation for people. Tad does a lot more captaining today than I do, and he's elevated that to the iPad, so it's bigger and easier, right?
Right.
And he just gave us some great advice about the cell card. So it doesn't matter what iPad. Let's talk about what software you're using. And how? How did you download this?
Yeah, the software that I'm using on this is just Garmin Active Captain. So just out of the App Store. So if we close this is my marine page. It has weather apps, Instacart, anything that I'm using underway. So the Garmin Active Captain app is this one right up here.
Okay.
That's what the app looks like. So you can see if you do a quick screenshot of that. So you can see that's what the app looks like. That's the Garmin Active Captain app itself.
Okay.
So that just lets us know what you have to download.
Okay. And again, I don't need to have Garmin nav screens.
You do not.
To use this.
No, you do not. If you have Garmin nav screens, what you purchased with the boat, the charts that are built into the Garmin automatically transfer. If you don't have Garmin nav screens, you have to do in-app purchases of the charting software.
So there is some benefit to have Garmin equipment.
That is true. Yep. But the other manufacturers, I've run Raymarine, I've run Simrad. They offer similar type of software where you can use their charting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I would say Garmin is probably the most popular for most of our cruising couples and owner-operators.
For sure.
So this is valuable to the majority of the fleet.
For sure.
So as you can see right now, we are at Marlow. It's actually a point on Tad's map right there. So let's just pretend I wanted to go get the best prime rib sandwich on my way to the best lobster that you know of. And I didn't have a time frame. I just retired. I just sold my business, so I also, fortunately, don't have a budget. I already bought the boat, right? So now it's time to go cruising.
Correct.
Some of you may be in the pre-purchase phase. Some of you may already own a boat. So this this presentation here is good for you because we're gonna teach you how and where to possibly go with this particular software. So day one, or maybe we skip over the boring stuff and we jump right to your favorite spots between here in the best prime rib sandwich I can get, and here in the best lobster I can get, and we can spend time in between. But let's not spend time in the places that maybe you don't care to spend time at, like the wherevers of the world, right?
Right.
Jump to where is your next favorite spot where maybe I want to spend 2 days. However you want to look at it, Tad. But
sure,
I want to be able to zoom in and see how you're using this, where I might want to go, if weather's fair, where I might want to go, if weather's foul. Just come teach us.
Correct. So typically any part of trip planning, itinerary planning that we look at, I normally go with A, B's, and C's. So A would be I've got great weather. I don't have any concerns about weather, and I don't have any concerns about what the seas are doing. I can get there easily no matter what direction I go, whether
like today.
So whether it's going to be, a combination of two different, styles of cruising, whether it's intercoastal and some offshore, large water cruising or not. My B plan is if the weather's inclement and I need to find an alternate route. And then my C plan is to know what happens when stuff happens en route, whether weather comes up, mechanical, whatever it is that's causing me to deviate. Where are my bailouts? Where can I, return to a safe harbor in an expedited, way so that I can, get my family out of the uncomfortable part of boating and, out of any kind of problems.
Sure. Okay. So where would we go first?
So from here, if I zoom out and give you more of a wide range view of the state, So if we go here, you've got the entire state of Florida. So we can see that on the map. And so you can see that if we're going to go around the state, then I'm looking at, what's my distance from point A to point B. So if we zoom in a little closer to where we are here at Marlow, I have to start thinking realistically, what is going to be my miles per day? What am I looking at trying to do? How fast am I trying to go? How long am I going to take to get there? And how many hours or days am I going to spend at that particular destination?
So let's use this 58 as our subject because we're on it.
Okay.
You've cruised this boat before.
I have.
Okay.
Yep.
So where would you take us today?
So today I would go to Boca Grande.
Okay.
So that would be my go-to point today. So I can build a route in this software and then transfer it to the navigation screens. So we build that route on this software. Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, why don't we do one?
Okay, we'll do one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a 10-point. We can make a 3-point just to show us how it works.
Okay, so typically you put a starting point. So let's say we navigate out of the Marlow Basin and we get out of the shallow part and we got out into this Terracea Bay. We would obviously just follow the chart. So simple enough. I just touch the screen, little radio dial pops up and I can build a route. So here is that route. The starting point is here. And I'm going to go to that channel marker. So just that easy. I can just go from point to point, putting points in. The nice thing about this is that you can rubber band it, moving it around to go, I don't like where that point is. It adds another point. So as you said, we're just going to kind of quickly jump through the route building process. And you can see how quickly it builds that route to get us out of Terracea. And we're going to go with our A plan first, which is to get us in the most expedited trip because we have great weather. So now I'm going out of Tampa Bay. I've got a point already built in here that tells me I'm going to clear the shoals there, clear the channel marker here.
So you kind of set your points in and then you reuse them.
You
build a highway that you reuse, and if it's an area you don't know, you could do this at night or the morning or on the out.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because you can see my points are already in the charting software. So then all I'm doing is running down the coast, and you can see that I have little markers that tell me where the marina is. Now, the reason I put those marks in there is because when you zoom out, all the detail goes away. When the detail starts going away, you can see that those blue marks show up.
Okay.
That's important so that when I am trying to quickly find a spot, I can see those blue marks. And those are just different areas. If you zoom way out, you can see blue marks all over the chart.
Easy.
But I'm going here to go, okay, I want to find where I can get in to some place and be able to go to, say, Venice, or working my way further south down to Boca Grande.
Okay. And you obviously have this experience in the Bahamas as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The Bahamas is this becomes even more important because of the lack of navigational aids. So
you need physical ones that are posted by local government.
Yeah, channel markers and that kind of stuff. Normally, you're going off of different soundings, and where your buddies have gone, they say go here, go there. You go and explore it, figure out where the water is. A lot of this stuff over there is by sight, but once you've been there and done it, you go, oh, okay.
Can you build a trip in and send it to somebody?
Yes.
So what would you charge to do that? If I had a customer that wanted to go up for the world's best lobster run and back, schedule a call with you and have you do that for them, where you could personalize it based on what you find out for the call. Is it a day's captain fee? Or
that's normally what we end up doing, is spending a day, because I need to kind of understand what are their tolerances for cruising? What do they like to do? Not just what one of them likes to do, because that's normally problematic. I need to understand what both people, or what everyone who's going to be on the boat, because we need to build the plan according to the least tolerant, not the most tolerant. And what happens is normally the person with the most tolerance ends up calling me and saying, I want to build this plan. And then the least tolerant person hates it.
So it sounds like me and my wife can go. We want to run nonstop from here to Maine in 8-footers or less. And you might hear, I'd like to go shopping along the way, and 3-footers or less.
Correct.
And you're trying to make a plan that the whole boat's happy. So that sounds like we do a trip with 2 to 3s, and we have 2 or 3 shopping days along the way as well.
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
Because if not, nobody has any fun.
That sounds like some good advice, whoever's listening. So take note there.
Yeah, for sure. So what I did here is I just put a point in off of Tampa Bay. So we go St. Petersburg. This is Tampa Bay. Tampa's up here. Marlow sits down here at State Island in Bradenton. We just worked our way out of there, around the shoals, and then straight down the coast. So this is, again, my A plan. So, okay, weather's going to be great. Seas are not an issue. We're going to run down here, and we're going to run into Boca Grande. You can see your total distance is right up here, 68 miles. We're going to turn around the corner and then just go right up here to the Boca Grande Marina, which is where the little blue dot is. It's going to be hard to see there, but the marina sits right here. The thing I like about the detail on the charts is that you can literally see the dock layout. This, I just know because I've been there, but this is the fuel dock. If I have any questions, you can click on here. You've got your total mileage is about 71 miles to get to that location, which is the perfect day for a boat of, even if you did 9 knots the whole way, you've got about a 9-hour day of cruising slow, and normally we do half and half.
Okay.
So normally we try to kind of do a mix of 2. I try to be done in an 8-hour day.
So you run ballpark how many miles?
Yeah.
Hundreds?
Yeah.
Okay, hundreds. Yeah. And you'd say the average non-delivery, I got owners aboard,
right,
is about how much of a day? Miles or?
Yeah, 8 hours a day.
Okay.
And if we're going to run, then that equals, I normally look at about 120 to 130 mile day. If it's, going slowly, I'm looking at 60 to 70 miles a day.
Okay.
Because an hour before we leave, we're all consumed in getting the boat ready to go. An hour after we get there, we're all consumed with getting the boat put away, washed down, fueled, and that kind of stuff. So if I can spend, 7 hours actually running and 2 hours, so I've got 9 hours in, that's normally about the tolerance level of the least tolerant person on the boat.
Right.
Because if I plan for a guy's trip, a delivery trip, well, we're sometimes running 14-hour days, 15-hour days. But that's because it doesn't really matter. We can sleep. We don't care if we're uncomfortable. We're bouncing around because the guys that we're taking on deliveries are extremely tolerant.
That's a very fair way to kind of understand that and provide some happiness with everybody on board.
Yeah.
So
I have found that, if the least tolerant person on the boat is not happy, the entire boat is not happy.
Right.
Because it's just a matter of who we are. When we know someone's not having a good time, when they're not enjoying the trip, whether they're a relative or not, they're a close friend or not a close friend, just an acquaintance that said they wanted to go and they're not having a good time, you're not having a good time.
All right. So let's pretend I don't want to go to this marina. We feel like anchoring out. Looks like a beautiful night. Well, how would you alternate plans?
So, we go, all right, we're not going to go there, or, we didn't make reservations ahead of time. So typically what I tell everyone is if you really want to go somewhere, then we'll plan way in advance. If you don't really care where you're going to go, then we don't have to plan way in advance. We can call the day we're leaving because now we know that we're headed there. You just got to be okay with not getting in to that particular place, which is the beautiful thing about a Marlow is that they're easy to anchor, easy to pull anchor. It doesn't take a lot for us to do that. So it's really not a big deal because it's also easy to drop the tender. So it's still easy enough for us to go to this place, even if we don't.
Oh, I see an anchor. Does that mean I can anchor right there?
That does mean that you can anchor there. So if we say we're going to just cancel this route, so we've canceled that, and on Active Captain, you can pull up this little anchorage and you see that it has an information. So the same radio dial, and then it pops up and it gives us the information about that anchorage. So I can look through that and I can go down. Typically, I look at just the summary of it, and then I go all the way down to the bottom because I want to look at what the reviews are. This is the crowdsourcing part of Active Captain. And this tells me, did they like it? Did they not like it? What about that anchorage? So I'm typically looking through there. Now, when you get into this place and you start looking around, you can go, it's a little tight. It's not what I want. When we read that summary, that's a lot of what it says. So I might go, well, I want to look somewhere else. So then you can zoom out and start looking around to find other little anchorages around this area. This little area that's right up here, which as you can see is just a little bit, that's not necessarily north, but we'll call it north of this marina. There's a little pocket that's up in here, and this anchorage I like a lot better for this particular marina. I've anchored here many times where, as we just talked about, if I didn't make a reservation and I get there and they don't have room for me that night, then typically I go and anchor here because it's easy for me to drop it. And you can see lots of good comments about that. Not a big tide. This is especially good if wind is coming northeast because I'm in a hidden little corner.
Does this say anything about the size of the boat? I guess it's just up to what people decide to share.
That's correct.
Because when we looked at the first one, I made a comment about the anchors because I was surprised to see that it was there because I would never try to anchor this boat there.
That's
just with my local knowledge.
That's right. That's right. So it is very tight in here, but there is an anchorage, and you will see a couple of boats that'll drop an anchor right here. There's room for literally one boat.
Yeah, like not a big one either.
Not a big one. Right. But, again, once you got in there, you would be able to go, okay, no, I don't feel comfortable. I have also, now the other, nice thing, if you would, this particular Marlowe, we were talking about this one specifically, is it has 0-speed stabilizer. So it has a CMC stabilizer fins that are 0 speed, and I've actually anchored this boat right here. There's no anchorage marker, but it doesn't mean that you can't anchor there. It's just that I want to make sure that I have anchor lights on and that, I'm visible because there could be some kind of boat traffic or something. I'm not in the intercoastal waterway, which is the white line here, but I'm just out here to the side. I've anchored here probably a half a dozen times because of the same reason. I didn't make reservations. I couldn't get into the marina, but I just anchored here, and it was just around the corner to be in.
So since we're talking about anchoring, what are your 3 favorite anchorage spots in that general vicinity? If someone said, I always go marina to marina and I really want to try it out, I've heard so much about it, where should I go?
Right. So from here, just a little bit south of the Boca Grande. So this is this is the bay itself of Boca Grande. This is Punta Gorda. This is Boca Grande. Just south of here is a Rockstar anchorage, and this is
Pelican Bay.
Pelican Bay that's right here, and you can see all the anchorage marks that are in here. So all these green icons are all anchor marks.
So it can only anchor where the green ones are, right?
No, you can anchor anywhere in here, but these are just all the comments about why you would want to anchor in this spot versus the other spot. And I typically look at all the reviews. Hard to see that because it's pretty small, but you can see all the different reviews.
71 reviews.
71 reviews. So that anchorage is a very popular place. This is a state park. This whole island is a state park, and you can walk across to the beach. They have a dinghy dock, so you can drop your dinghy, take your dinghy, and park right up here. That's what all that says on that little icon, the Cayo Costa State Park, and it tells you that you can take your dinghy up there, you can drop it off, and again, I go down to the reviews. So it tells you all of the information about getting into the anchorage, all of that information. That's one of my favorite anchorages to go. I've taken many clients there for a weekend of, put rafts and party on the water there. That is, one of the most favorite places.
So I've got a 5-foot draft. I'm concerned about going in. It looks skinny. What do I do?
So typically I am looking at all of these different anchor marks because everyone has comments and they put them in different places. There's also the entrance to it is marked in orange, and that's going to tell you how to get into it. So that gives you all the information, latitude, longitude. This is just a summary of what we just talked about. Getting in there, you're going to be 100 feet off the beach, which is very close, right? I mean, you feel like you could reach out and touch it, but it's true. And when you read all of this, this gives you a ton of confidence to at least try. And that's what I tell my owners. At least try. Go and take a look at this information. do your homework, get to know what it says about the entrance. And then when you get there, remember, this is reference. Outside of your windshield is reality. So now that you know what everybody else said about it, now use your own judgment when you're entering that anchorage. Look out the window and know that that's reality.
Do you advise people enter high tide at that?
It's typically mid-tide or rising.
Okay.
So the reason I want rising is because obviously if we go, a little too fast and we, feel like we're stuck and we can't move, all we got to do is, grab a bottle of water, catch your breath, and in just a few minutes, we're going to float off.
Right.
So if we go mid-tide and falling, we could be there for about 13 hours.
Yeah, you could be there at that.
Right.
Okay. So what would you like to show us next, from Marina or an Anchorage, if we're making that trip?
So from this particular place, we have to start making a decision because, we use the A scenario here of ABC. So the B scenario with this would be to run the Intracoastal Waterway, because I could run the ICW all the way down from Marlow. I could go inside. So I would also at least like to familiarize myself with that. Even if I'm not planning on taking that route, I want to at least kind of walk myself down through this ribbon or channel that runs down to at least kind of go, is there any place through here that is a no-go?
Because from here to Maine, you mostly have both options.
Mostly. Up until I get to Cape May, New Jersey.
Meaning inside?
Inside.
Or offshore.
That's correct. Yep. I can be inside of a bay, inside, but having wind coverage on both sides of the boat.
Right. Protection of some sort.
Yeah.
Transit times, are they the same? So if I said 8 hours from Marlow to Boca Grande on the outside, is that the same as on the inside?
It is not. For sure it's not, because you have drawbridges that you're timing. You have no wake zone. So now you don't have the option of just going fast when you want to go fast. Sometimes you have to go slow at a no wake speed, which is, going to be 6 or 7 knots versus us being able to cruise at, 9, 10, 11 knots offshore, still in a conservative mode, not going fast, but we're still creating a large wake. So by being able to do that, whenever we want, gives us more options. So my A plan is, as it sounds, is my A plan. That's the one that I'd rather do.
And you do offshore mostly because you can go further in a shorter amount of time.
That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. I can, if we were sightseeing, we used the example earlier, I wanted to spend a couple of days shopping, so I want to get someplace, or maybe my least tolerant person on the boat does not like the boat moving around much at all, then maybe we take what's my priority on the trip? Is my priority on the trip to make distance, or is this leg designed to be comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I decide whether I'm going inside with protection or outside with net.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So we were talking about from Boca Grande. So we were talking about trying to figure out where we were going to go from this spot down here. So how do we get from Boca Grande? And again, looking at overall distance, how do we, we want to get to the best prime rib sandwich ever. And we're not in a hurry, but we're not necessarily sightseeing along the way. So we have to decide, are we going to go across the state? Are we going to cut across and go through Lake Okeechobee and come out on the other side in Stewart? Or are we going to go through the Keys? The answer would be, do you want to see the Keys? If you want to see the Keys, then we have to start talking about the least tolerant person on the boat and know that that trip is going to take us offshore to the Keys. There's no protection when we get down past Fort Myers. So that means that there is another factor that's drawn into the occasion. If that's, the Keys doesn't matter.
If you were to just summarize it, of 100 trips, how many times you go across the lake versus through the Keys on average with your clientele?
Yeah, it's half and half.
Okay.
It's definitely half and half. I have some people that, okay, well, the Keys are the Keys, and, that.
Been there 100 times in college, but I've never been across the lake. I want to see that.
That's right. And the lake, adds some experiences that most people haven't done, and that's locks.
I thought you were going to say mosquitoes and alligators.
Well, yeah. But lots of critters out there for sure. But the locks are typically a high point of that trip for people who haven't done it before.
Okay.
Because they've never transitioned through a lock. They don't know what that's about. And, you know, especially if they have someone with them, it really allows them to get some experience doing that, because you're going to have to do it at some.
Okay.
So my typical suggestion, if they're leaving it up to me, I'm going to go across the lake because it cuts off miles.
Okay.
Cutting off miles cuts hours out of the use on the equipment, as well as fuel.
Right. Thanks for joining us at Everything Yachting. I hope you've enjoyed diving into the yachting world today. If you've enjoyed or learned something, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more. Until next time, my friends, healthy families, happy memories, and may fair winds and smooth seas guide your future yachting adventures.